Hello, hello, wonderful people. We are live with you here at the Viewfinder Studio, and I am pleased to join you today for a little bit of feedback. So, welcome. It's great to be with you, and I thought that to start things off here, it would just be fun to hear from you in the comments where you're coming from. If you're tuning us in, it's always interesting to know where people are in the world. So feel free to shoot a little message into the chat window there, and I will try to give you a shout. This is my very, very first live stream through this new thing that I'm trying out here, and I'm just curious how it's going to work for us. The idea here today is to jump on our YouTube channel, jump on our Facebook page, and show you guys what we're doing in our membership group. We've got some really talented photographers who have been out there working on a photo assignment this month. The theme has been reflections. So they've watched a lesson that we just put out and gone out and actually exercised and shot some photos on their own. So we're here today to look at some of the awesome shots that have been uploaded so far in the group. And we will. This will be the first of two calls that we'll do like this. We got some more feedback coming at the end of the month for people who haven't had a chance to submit shots yet. But since we had so many great submissions, we thought we would jump in and already review the photos that have been submitted the first half of the month. So that's what you can expect. I don't think this call is going to take more than about 30 minutes or so. That's the goal, to keep it short. That's what we like, short and sweet. So yeah, that's what to expect. I had hoped to welcome my good friend Jesse, another photography friend who comes from Washington State in the US, where I'm from. I'd hoped to have him with me today. Unfortunately, he had something pop up at the last minute and couldn't join me. But anyway, we'll do this one in solo mode this time around, and we'll bring Jesse in on one of our next calls here. So just a little quick overview. The assignment that we had this month was all about reflections. And, we showed some different examples. We went out in the field. We did some shots. We put some examples on screen. And then following the lesson, it was our members' opportunity to get out there and shine and show us their interpretation of reflections. So that's what they did. And that's about it, really. It's pretty simple. We're going to jump right into it here and take a look. I've just pulled basically 2 pictures per photographer, and I'm just going to pop those up on screen and give a few comments. So, by the way, thanks, Stefan, for the shout. Looks like you're tuning in at work. Cool. Don't get caught. And if you do get caught, don't blame it on me. So without further ado, we'll jump into a couple shots here. So yeah, some of our first submissions came from Leah, who has been out in Zurich shooting reflections, doing her kind of typical street photography thing. Let me see if I can get these up on screen here for you. Okay, if you can see some pictures on screen, it would be cool to get a shout from someone there who's watching. I'm about 15 or 20 seconds ahead of you, so there's kind of a funny delay in the sort of commenting and responding. It's not quite happening in real time, but it's pretty close. Anyway, got a couple pictures on screen, or got one picture on screen here from Leah. And Leah is really kind of a street photography maestro. And it really shows here in her reflection shot. I love this picture. In part because I'm such a fan of bicycles. I love bikes in general, but I think they also photograph really well. And they're just such a classic element to have in your picture, so easily recognizable. So really cool shot, and not only a great example of reflections, but it's a really symmetrical picture, and there's a lot of different layers here. I also just like how the bikes pop off of the background. The background itself is kind of busy, being in this kind of urban environment. We got those buildings back there. There's a lot of lines and things going on in the windows. But nevertheless, Leah's managed to kind of put those dark bike silhouettes almost in front of that kind of lighter pastel background. And I think the contrast here is really working out in a really good way. And not to mention the symmetry in the foreground there. The puddle, the reflection is perfect. Nice, calm, clear puddle reflection. And it's just a brilliant shot. So nice job on that one, Leah. I'm going to try to go through these a little bit quicker than I did last time around. My goal is not to have like a 5 or 10 minute talk about everybody's submission, but rather just to give you a few comments and maybe a few things to think about. So anyway, I can't think of anything else to say or to improve on basically this picture. I love it. I think it's a perfect example of what we're doing in this assignment. So nice job, Leah. There is another, oops, I'm clicking on the wrong thing here. Bear with me, guys, trying out this stuff for the very first time. Let's take a look at the second sort of standout shot that we picked from Leah's submissions. Really cool. Another street photography photo, reflections in what I think is a tram window here, or yeah, probably a tram window. And this is like kind of like right in the busy part of town where there's a lot of people coming and going. This is downtown Zurich, by the way. Leah and I both live in the same town or close enough. And so I kind of recognize some of the scenery here. Anyway, I think this is one of those pictures that's, it shows good seeing, basically. It shows somebody's like really thinking hard about timing and reflections, of course, but it's a really clever picture, I would say. Lots of layers, and being able to see this guy inside the tram and then see someone outside the tram and then see the facade on this interesting building across the way. It's just a great example of good seeing. And yeah, lots of fun contrast, lots of fun texture, just a great and very creative shot. So nice work on that one too, Leah. Okay, we're going to move on to photos submitted by Diana. And guys, I'm not sure. I think that Leah's shots were submitted, were taken rather this month and uploaded this month. So that's ideal. I'm not sure about this photo here. I think I asked Diana over in the group, and she mentioned that this might have been a photo that she took earlier in the year. That doesn't make the picture any less good. I love the shot, and I could talk about it in just one second, but I just want to take the opportunity to point out that, it's not against the rules necessarily to upload pictures that you've got in your archive, but the idea here is to get out and exercise our skills, work on our craft, because the more we look through the camera, the more we're out there doing the shots and staying up to date with our skills, the better we are as photographers. So I just want to put that out there and encourage people to, as much as possible at least, to get out there and work on the assignments in real time, rather than kind of submitting photos from their archive. But anyway, this is still a great picture, a fun one to talk about, and it's a perfect reflection shot. I mean, it's really great. So Diana, really nice job here. What I love about this picture is the fact that rainbow just sort of perfectly intersects with your main subject, this guy who happens to be dressed in white. I mean, what an amazing coincidence that he's dressed in white and just kind of pops forward in the shot like that. That's phenomenal. So I don't know if you had to arrange that or if that just happened for you. And if it did, you're incredibly lucky. The background, I love how that sky is dark. It really pushes that rainbow out at you. And the brightest part of the picture, the side of that house back there, is also right next to this guy. So it kind of pulls your eye into the middle of the photo and kind of throws your attention right in towards, sort of like the main star of the show. And not to mention the reflection is just gorgeous. I mean, it's a perfectly symmetrical picture, top to bottom, and the foreground is just this lovely kind of rippled puddle, which has some great texture and some brilliant light. So great job. I love the shot. It's really, really nice. And then, excuse me, we've got a second shot here from Diana, also taken downtown. This is, I'm thinking, a picture that has been flipped 180 degrees. Correct me if I'm wrong. It'd be interesting to find out over in the group if that's in fact what Diana did. But I'm thinking, because these people in the foreground here underneath probably wouldn't be right side up, if this was a reflection in the normal orientation. So anyway, I really think it's a clever use of, flipping the picture and trying a different sort of approach to the crop. And the tower in the reflection is just really cool. It's really fun how these buildings, grow out of the underside of the picture, the bottom part of the picture, and they kind of, in a way, sort of disorient you a little bit but of course, what you're looking at. You just can't quite work out, what's going on with the reflection. So it's lovely. I love how the concrete underneath kind of grows up into the buildings. I mean, that is a really interesting effect with the reflection. So really a brilliant picture. It's got a lot of great texture. It's got some fun color, and it's just a creative twist on, the orientation of the reflection. So great work. Brilliant shot. I'm going to move on now and pop a couple pictures up here from Anne. Anne has been out and about and working on reflection shots a few different times and uploaded some great photos to the group that show some real creativity and poking around, looking for scenes that are kind of within the scene. And this one stood out to me because it feels to me like just kind of a study of the reflection itself rather than the reality of the whole scene around. And I love it. I think it's great. I'm actually going to zoom this up a little bit. Hopefully this takes up a little bit more of the screen here. And just a quick technical tip here. It seems like maybe the exports that you're uploading are a little bit smaller than some of the other folks' photos that we're getting. So sometimes they pop up on my screen a little bit smaller like this, and they have to be enlarged. So maybe you could take a look at your Lightroom export settings and just increase the resolution a little bit. Maybe, bump it up to something like 2000 or 2500 pixels, and then you'd have plenty of resolution for these sorts of things. But anyway, that's all aside. I love the color in here. I love the texture of the water. I also am a sucker for these diagonal lines, and I like how you've created this strong leading line out of the lower right corner of the frame, and that's kind of enhanced by the water line of the boat. And there's some great color in here, and it's just a fun shot. I just like it a lot. It kind of reminds me of a painting or something, and just this little abstract detail. So great work getting out and exploring the harbor for that one. And we've got a second shot here, and I'm thinking that this is one of the I think I know where this is downtown. It's if I'm not mistaken. I really like it. It's a cool shot. I like how you've worked in both a reflection and a little bit of fall foliage there. And then on top of that, you've got this sort of element of timing and catching a bicyclist just kind of passing through underneath the shot. But it also I find it interesting that you've cropped the bicycle the way you have, because I feel like that does a good job of kind of taking a little bit of the emphasis away from the bicyclist themselves and just sort of using them as a little bit of a human element in a scene that's more about the reflection than it is about the bicyclist. So I think it's a clever decision, if that was your decision. And the picture itself just has some fun shape, fun reflections, of course, and then kind of like this feeling of pattern, moving through the glass windows there. And of course, some interesting and sort of odd reflections going on, across the street on the other side. So really fun. I like this picture a lot. Great work. And speaking of reflections, we're going to jump into some pictures from our newest member, Martin, who submitted this super cool shot. This picture, I think, has a lot going on for it, and it ticks a lot of boxes. Great work, Martin. Really fun to see you out there jumping into the assignment and coming back with some great pictures. So this one stood out for me because it's got just a lot going on. It's got some wonderful texture. I love the clouds in the background. I love the color in the shot too, how this blue kind of creeps through the whole image, not just in the sky up above, but, of course, in the windows too. And that cloud texture is just perfect. It's such a great opportunity. The way you've got all that cloud happening in an even way across the sky just means that it kind of like fills in on the windows in a nice kind of even way as well. And there's a really strong leading line effect kind of coming in from down below, leading straight up through the frame, a number of different lines. And then there's also kind of this interesting rhythm across the whole frame. From left to right, we see kind of a strong sense of rhythm, with this repeating effect or repeating leading line effect is kind of like moving its way across the frame from left to right. And I find that really cool. So there's a lot going on here. There's shape, there's rhythm, there's reflection, there's leading line. And, any time that you can double dip in so many different things like that, that really makes for a picture that you can stop and look at for a while and really appreciate. So great job. And actually, Martin uploaded 2 pictures from the same shot. His first shot was this one here, which was quite a bit more, subdued. The contrast wasn't quite there yet. The exposure wasn't quite perfect. He took a look at our Lightroom Smart Start course over on our website. This is free for all of our members. And as he worked his way through the Lightroom Smart Start and then even went further into our Lightroom for landscape photography course, he came back with this result. So just a little bit of a reminder that that's there for people. If you're struggling with Lightroom, that is one of the courses that we include with our membership. Just jump in there and poke around and see if that helps you get a handle on, your own workflow and your own developing techniques. Okay, so let's see. Martin had one more shot, a nice reflection picture, also kind of an urban theme, also with a bit of a autumn accent to it, which I found really pretty cool. And I like this picture a lot. I'd say that maybe if I could suggest something, would be to sort of move around the scene a little bit and see if there's anything else you can do with that reflection. It feels to me like maybe you could have done a little bit more with the frame here. Maybe work in something to the reflection that's just a little bit more, I don't know, maybe creates a little bit more interest. The building across the street, or the building, kind of reflected in your puddle here, is at least doing a nice job of creating some fun contrast in the picture, and the texture of that concrete is lovely. The texture of the reflection is lovely too. I'd just like to see maybe a little bit more going on in the reflection. But anyway, it's a nice picture. I like the leafy foreground, and it kind of reminds me of sort of like the last little bit of fall slipping down the drain. So great work on that one. Nice job, Martin. We're going to move on now to Alex. And Alex uploaded some fun shots. Alex, I'm thinking if you took this photo recently, sort of halfway through autumn here, then my hat's off to you. Maybe this one came from your archive. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, all that aside, really, really creative picture. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's just fantastic. I mean, there's so much wonderful color, wonderful texture. I love how it's all kind of radiating out from the middle of your composition here. But then we've got this lovely reflection happening down in the foreground here. So I'm thinking maybe you used a mirror for this, or at least a really, really nice piece of glass or something that had a super reflective quality, probably a mirror. And it's just a lovely photo. Let's see, there was something else I wanted to say about this picture, and I can't remember it at the moment. That's how live things go, I guess. But anyway, brilliant shot. I'm looking forward to hearing whether that's something that you did recently, or if this is one that you've been hanging on to and keeping a card up your sleeve for a while. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And this is a fun one too. Actually, what I wanted to say about this photo is that this does a nice job of kind of underlining, something that was mentioned in the lesson. And you might remember in one of those scenes, I was doing a shot very similar to this one, and I was kind of hanging around waiting for somebody to just kind of move through the scene and give maybe just a little dose of life to the situation and kind of punctuate the picture a little bit. So this picture reminded me of that part of the lesson, and I just wanted to touch on that one, because sometimes you've got a great reflection, you've got some great background, a great environment for a picture, and then you just need to kind of wait and sort of treat it as a little bit of a picture trap. And that's exactly what you've done here. And you've got a great character. He's wearing like a perfect outfit. I love the hat. I love the dark jeans and his black shoes. And, there's something about this guy that's kind of just fits for the scene. And then you've got this other woman kind of creeping into the frame over here on the right, and she happens to be wearing a nice bright red shirt, talking on the phone. So anyway, there's just a fun little kind of dash of life to this one, and it's also a beautiful reflection, a lot of symmetry going on, a lot of strong leading lines kind of tapering off into the background there, and it's really great. So good job on that one. We're going to move on here to some pictures from the Right Honorable Mike Boland. And Mike has been recently traveling around in Italy and took a brilliant reflection photo. So this may be another case of an archive shot. We won't fault Mike for that since it's such a good one. But yeah, glorious reflection in this lake. What a spot. I just want to be in this kayak, with these two people. Yeah, this kayaker is of course reflected perfectly in the water. And then you've got, sort of like the inversion of the whole background on the foreground, but then we can see through the water and you've got all this lovely texture in the foreground. And then I like this little dose of turf, the rock and the plant that's on the lower left side of the shot. I feel like that anchors this photo somehow and elevates it beyond what it would be if you just had moved the camera out over the water and snapped a reflection photo of the water itself. I feel like that would be the more obvious picture, but the fact that you backed up and included a little bit of the turf to kind of give the viewer a sort of feeling like they're standing on the shore and peering out into the lake, I really like it a lot. I'm wondering if you used a polarizing filter here, Mike, because we can see through that water so clearly, and the color of the bottom of the lake and of the trees on the far side of the lake is really coming out nicely. So anyway, brilliant shot. Love it. Love how you've given these guys space to move into the frame as well. That definitely helps kind of add a sense of balance to the picture. Super shot. And another one looks like probably from the same trip. This is just a fantastic image. I'm a sucker for mountains in the first place, which Mike knows, but I just love how the light is, right on these peaks. It just helps them pop forward as the main subject. And then we've got this fun sort of leading texture kind of the concrete on the road here. And the texture of that foreground and middle ground kind of almost complements what's going on in the reflection itself. So it's brilliant. I love it. And I'm thinking that you probably focused on the mountains here because this one was taken at kind of a medium aperture, as Mike shows us here on his metadata. He shot this one with f6.3. And you can see that those mountains are perfectly sharp, or as sharp as they can possibly be, being in a reflection. And then we've got, the sort of edges of the puddle are a little bit less sharp. So that's a good thing to remember. We talked about this in the lesson too. When you're photographing reflections, it's important to keep in mind that the subject and the edge of the reflection are two different depths or distances to the camera. So it's important to pay attention to where you're focusing, whether you're focusing in the reflection or you're focusing, next to the reflection on the reflected material. There's a difference there. So great job, Mike. Love it, love it, love it, love it. And then we've got a cool shot here from Stefan, who I think is on the call with us here, playing the video under his desk at work. And anyway, this is a shot that Stefan took, I think, on his way to work, which, that means that Stefan must be an early bird because, this one's happening before sunrise. He says that he took this one with his iPhone. And I just wanted to mention that, these shots, this picture is just as good in terms of its composition, in terms of its creativity, in terms of the awesome lighting opportunity that Stefan captured here. It's just as good capturing this on an iPhone and submitting it to the group for the assignment. Then, it's just as good as a picture that you would take going out searching for these kinds of shots. Sometimes, you see something like this on your way to work, you don't have your camera with you. It's okay. You snap it, you put it in the group. It's a great conversation piece and a great way to stay engaged with the assignment. So I'm really glad that you uploaded this one. And I would say that the picture it's just a really amazing example of a color shot. It's got a lot of color going on. I'd say color is kind of like the main theme here. And I love that about it. I would like to see maybe a little bit more interest in the middle ground. Maybe if there was a way to shoot something like this and maybe get more out of that farm barn, that building on the right-hand side, to maybe get that into the reflection, or do something, with that middle ground, maybe to sink the camera down a little bit lower or somehow adjust the point of view so that we can see something happening in that reflection that's maybe related to the background. Anyway, I'm just sort of tossing a couple ideas out there at you. I still love the picture. It's got a lot of great color. So nice job on this one, Stefan. Thanks for uploading. And I think we're getting towards the end of what we've got here so far this month. Let me just quickly bounce to my contact sheet, make sure I haven't missed anybody. No, it looks like we've gotten everyone here. And so we're going to not make this a really long call. The idea here is to figure out a way that we can sort of condense our feedback a little bit and maybe become a little bit more frequent with our feedback so that, we can keep the conversation moving in the group. So great work. I will just mention to anybody who happens to be watching that this whole exercise is a part of our membership. And if you want to find out more about how you can participate in our membership, you can head over to viewfindermastery.com and you'll find more information about our membership there. All the different things that are included, the courses, the monthly exercises, the assignments, the feedback, and of course, we've got some blog posts and some other resources as well. So check that out. It's definitely worth a look if you're interested in what we're doing here. And if you want as well, we have some free resources that can be downloaded in the resource area. So take a look there. We've got some cool stuff. There are gear tips. There are all kinds of things in the free resources area, including our magazine, which we published several times already. So have a look. We'd love to hear from you. I'd like to encourage everyone who has not yet done the exercise to get out there and do some shooting. You still have, good solid week and a half or so left in November. So get out there and take some shots and stay tuned for one more feedback session coming at the end of the month. We will jump back on and do another one of these for the people who submit in the second half of the month. So don't be discouraged if you haven't done anything yet, but do get out there and give it a try. Okay, so that is all we've got for today. This concludes my first live stream feedback session. Thank you for bearing with me, and I hope that you've enjoyed it, and I wish you a wonderful rest of your week. We will see you over at viewfindermastery.com. Thanks a lot for joining.